Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What's some dark shit going on around the world right now that public knows nothing about? Modern day slavery rarely makes front page news. Associated Press did a big thing on that some years ago. If you don't read Associated Press, then you probably did not see anything about that. But they did month after month after month of reporting on various modern day slaveries. None of it made it to the headlines. Yeah, my therapist keeps on me like, you can't change the world. You need to work on keeping yourself happy. But when I keep reading these headlines, it's just impossible not to be so incredibly disappointed and stressed. Being informed is fucked up. Edit. Can't respond anymore to you guys, but I hear you. This therapist talk was this Friday, so I'm gonna work on it. Just try and be more empathetic if you can. That is all. Edit 2. Some beer quelled the demons for a bit as well lol. Go Ravens. Edit 3. Yeah, I'm pretty much sobered up and you MFS keep commenting, so I'm upset again. Correct. There are 4 times as many slaves currently in the world than were transported during the entire transatlantic slave trade. Edit. Please stop telling me the population is bigger now. We've discussed the numbers to death. Remember when Saudi completed its expansion on slave labor from India, Bangladesh and Nepal? No one ever talks about it. Or when that Indian temple in NJ had the FBI crawling through it for confiscating poor Indian labor as passports till the work was done. Edit. Please disregard the second example. Most artisans withdrew from the case, stating an American lawyer had coerced them into filing false claims under the guise of getting American citizenship. https organizer.org/2023/077/18/18436/Barat/Swam-Anarian-Temple-User-Win-Legal-Battle-Laborers-Wit. HDRAWS lawsuit regarding discrimination. AMP. I'm curious if the current amount of slaves corresponds with how much the world's population has grown since then. Kids in the Congo have been mining cobalt in colonial conditions for the last few decades. This cobalt is used in everything that is supposedly eco-friendly and sustainable. Hopefully new lithium-sulfur batteries replace the need for cobalt. Lithium mines are totally fine and not at all a dangerous risk to anyone or anything though. The big game changer is sodium batteries. Lithium itself is still limited. Sodium is not. I believe there's essentially a holocaust going on in the Congo right now we hear nothing about. NYT story about this. Paywalled an article on genocide. Nice NYT. There is an actual genocide going on in Myanmar, and hardly anyone seems to care. There's active genocide occurring in more than 10 countries right now, and hardly anyone seems to care. Mainstream news does not report these issues and the UN consciously does nothing to intervene. Edit for inference happy. I understand the why behind the lack of action. My comment is merely a commentary on the prevalence of genocide in the present day. The disproportionate attention towards some genocidal conflicts. And how the UN is nothing more than a sluggish, reactionary bureaucracy as opposed to an entity that actually stays true to its original purposes. 2 of which are maintaining international peace and protecting human rights, as defined in its charter. For those who are all, what are they supposed to do? Quote, the answer of which is to catapult these issues into public discourse. Or to not exist. I'm not condoning the silence. But it really feels like countries aren't intervening because it would ignite a third world war. Mark Zuckerberg is building a $270 million underground bunker in Hawaii. Is the middle of the rising ocean in the Ring of Fire the best place for this? It's the decoy bunker. 215 bodies have been found buried in a mass grave behind a Mississippi police station. Edit 672 bodies found. 215 identified. https://www.npr.org/2024/011224449631/Mississippi-jail-graves-investigation. Their recent deaths too. We know, based on the records from the coroner's office, that, since 2016, in the last 8 years, we can identify 215 individuals that were buried behind that jail. And their families have not been notified, Crump told PBS NewsHour this week. WTAF. The what? That's horrifying. Yeah, you would think this would be a big deal. But I guess not. 1. Chinese factory workers are encouraged to smoke meth so they can work harder. 2. Chinese factories have safety nets around them because a lot of the workers were jumping to their deaths. Saw a documentary about this on YT. They have meth pills that are pink and everyone pops them. Yeah, I have Vyvanse too. Horrors are happening every day in Sudan. And on the refugee trail that leads out of Sudan to anywhere and everywhere else. When you hear some of the stories, it's not surprising people are willing to sacrifice anything to get as far away as possible. In many, many ways, the refugee crisis of Europe and other places is just a symptom of our apathy to the struggles of Other nations. Once upon a time, people better understood that's generally a good idea for your neighbor to be stable least their problems spill over into your country. We now live in a global village and the problems in countries you've never heard of can have momentous effects in your country, no matter how far removed you feel from it. I control plus Eft, Sudan, and this was the only result in the thread so far. This is an absolutely brutal war with huge impact to civilians, but it gets no coverage next to the stuff happening in Ukraine, Gaza, and in this thread where people are asking for unknown things happening. Few people mention, upvote it since no one knows about it. I felt like an idiot the other day. There's a guy in my gym who I play footy with. He's from Sudan and I asked if he goes back much and he kind of looked at me awkwardly and was like, no, there's a big war going on there. I genuinely had no idea and felt so ignorant. Mad how this stuff gets no coverage. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sudanese here. Sudan is completely ignored. I feel happy that some more PPL in this app are aware. My grandmother is in elder care. This elder care was funded by her selling her house. It's ridiculously expensive, and yet, the workers are underpaid, so it's often the only way to pay for the nursing home, hospice care. My generation is full of renters, many of whom had to forego having children because children are expensive. What's going to happen when we get too old and sick to work? Same thing happened to my dad back in 2020. He had Alzheimer's and I married into a family of lawyers who were, fortunately, able to assist me in figuring out conservatorship, guardianship, and selling his property to fund his care. During the whole process and after his death, I frequently wondered, how on earth do people 1. Figure this out if they don't have free access to experts, and 2. How fucked is my generation? It's going to be even more brutal than the disaster it already is. You're gonna die homeless on the streets unless something's done. And no one's in a hurry to do whatever that thing might be. Uyghurs will soon be systematically erased as a culture, and they are really unlucky to have China as their culprit. Any other country doing something similar would be shamed to death right now. But everyone is afraid of China and losing their businesses there, so they just chill and pretend. You're not educated on the situation. Their kids will be raised as, default, Chinese. Their adults are in re-education camps. Their lands will be flooded with other Chinese and their history will be gone and erased. Seems exaggerated. Go check if Tibet is still really Tibet right now. They carefully engineer their country to maintain good order and hegemony. Black Mirror is nothing compared to reality. China has no shame. Any other country doing something similar would be shamed to death right now. Israel has entered the chat. Edit. From R. Geopolitics 5 months ago. 1K upvotes. 3-ish years ago news about the Uyghurs was everywhere. What is going on with that now, and why have we not heard much about it since? Quote, China was shamed plenty on Reddit and elsewhere long ago. It made no difference. And it's making no difference against Israel now. Edit 2. Don't at me about Hamas torturing kids until you're ready to also hold Israel accountable for the same. https www.omct.org/n/resources/urgent-interventions/Israel-Palestinian-children-still-being-tortured-in Israeli prisons. Myanmar likes this. Yeah. I see boycott Israel stickers and signs everywhere. I see other countries attacking their international trade. I see people launching missiles at Israel. I see people attacking anyone from the majority ethnic group of Israel. I see the UN condemning Israel. I see genocide suit being brought against them. And not a damn thing about China. Since the Joseph Fritzl case years ago, it horrifies me that there's likely so many similar cases where they'll never be caught and the victim will never be free. Issue is a few generations down, they don't even know they're in a prison. What a horrible thought. Kind of like Room with Brie Larson. Her child doesn't even realize he is in captivity. It's kind of amazing how little people know about the Uyghur genocide happening in China. I posted something about this on a different thread and I was told, China isn't like that anymore. Face with rolling eyes. There's a lot of Chinese bots and bootlickers on Reddit, unfortunately. Microplastics are now being found in all food protein sources in significant numbers and found in human organs and human placentas. We have no real idea how they will affect us or the environment, and their presence will keep growing unchecked with no solution even proposed. Life in plastic isn't as fantastic as we were coerced to believe. You can brush my hair, microplastics everywhere. This one really sticks out for me. It is literally a global problem and the concentrations are only going to get higher. They're found in most human organs, liver, kidneys, lungs, brain. Even the placenta. They're in the food we eat, water we drink, we inhale them. All throughout the water cycle. They survive wastewater processing. They contain a range of additives, heavy metals, BPA, a load of different chemicals linked to diabetes, cancers, cardiovascular disorders, neurological disorders. Not enough research has been done to understand the exact effects, but I can't imagine they will be good. Plastic is a direct product of the oil industry, so trying to change production is going to be difficult. Not enough research has been done to understand the exact effects, but I can't imagine they will be good. IIRC, it's even worse than that. There was an attempted study to compare those with microplastics found in their blood. Closing parenthesis. With a control group. However, they couldn't complete the study because they were unable to identify a control group. It is legal in America to sign your kids over to be hogtied in the night by strangers, thrown in a van, and carried off to the wilderness to be abused until they obey your every whim. Look at gooning and the troubled teen industry. Edit. Gosh, yes. I've seen Elan. School. Please stop telling me about it. I read it twice. Edit 2. FFS. Gooning also means something about masturbating. That obviously isn't what I'm talking about here. This is seriously sick shit that is all too common in the US. These troubled teen facilities are essentially emotional abuse centers with physical abuse activities. However, I do really have to point out that the fact that gooning was chosen for the practice is unfortunate. Maybe people should Google troubled teen industry kidnapping instead. Gooning means something totally different in modern slang. This happened to me over 15 years later, and I'm still all fucked up from it. My brain can't even process or put into words the abuse and gaslighting and how awful it was. I've never been to prison, but I work with a lot of those that have. These troubled teen schools are the perfect storm of prison meets mental institution without all the gross red tape of laws, because they are minors and have no rights, and the school has custody and can do mostly as they wish. The irony is I never did drugs or really anything troubled before. But when I turned 18 and was allowed to leave, I spent the next decade heavily drinking and doing any drug I could to deal with the trauma. I also was bunked with kids who did do those things that taught me exactly how and why I should. It also already served the time, so might as well right. I'm sober now, but damn. This is one of the most vile and evil things you could ever do to another human, let alone your own children. And you pay for the privilege. Would you be kind enough to explain the term gooning? I've seen disturbing content here on Reddit but didn't understand. The word has very different meaning right now, LMAO. I would do anything but refer to the kidnapping of people as gooning. Gooning is that kind of kidnapping. It is where you sign guardianship over to the rehabilitation camp and pay for a team to kidnap your child and take them there, often blindfolded so they don't know the route. Paris Hilton was sent to one of these places, and she talks about it in her documentary that's on YouTube. A lot of people made a joke out of her going to DC to speak to Congress a couple years back. BC her. Why are they talking to Paris Hilton? But she's actually using her platform to advocate to end an abusive industry. The Catch Me Outside girl has spoken out about the place Drive. Phil sent her also. It's no secret he's a giant piece of shit, but I wish someone would do a deeper dive on it all. He always says he's not affiliated with the ranch where they send kids, which is obviously BS. They pay to send them. There is some kind of agreement to film. And the show is advertising their services. Paris is amazing with what she is doing in bringing this to light in the media.